Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. So on today's video we are going to be making the blouse. On our previous video we drafted the pattern for this blouse. So these are the materials we'll be working with. We have the lace, we have some net, and we have doll face that we are going to be working with. So let's get right into it. So guys, here I'm just cutting out my fabric. I placed my pattern paper on the fabric and I'm cutting it on fold, and I'm going to do it for the rest of my other patterns. So guys, please take note that I left half an inch allowance round while I was cutting for allowance when joining our yoke to our blouse. And in the center part here, I cut open the center piece just to easily insert our yoke, because it's going to be having a deep V. That was why I had to divide it in two, as you see here on the screen. So guys, for our modesty panel, I just took back the pattern piece that I cut out. That is our back part, the 2 inches we cut out, the 2 inches from our back pattern you see here. So I'm just going to be joining those two measurements together. See, I took out 2 inches there, and I took out then there's 2 inches left on my other parts, like where the eyelet is going to be here. So that's 4 inches, and I want my modesty panel to be wide enough to cross the back of the blouse. So that's 4 inches, and I just made it 6 inches. So you see me drafting out on a rough pattern paper. You see me draft out the modesty panel the way I want it. So I made it 6 inches instead of the 4 inches you're seeing here. I added 2 inches, so I made it 6 inches, and I made it 12 inches long if I'm not mistaken, and I made it 6 inches wide, but I just made it 7, adding our sewing allowance when we are going to be sewing our modesty panel. So you can see what I'm doing on this pattern paper, and I made it long enough to cover her back, but you don't have to make it too long because this is a blouse and she's going to be tying a wrapper over it, so it's not going to be showing. I made it 16 inches, but while I was sewing I reduced it at a point, so please take note. So guys, here I'm just using the modesty panel pattern to cut out on our fabric, as you can see. After cutting this out, I ironed air stay on one part of the piece because I cut it on fold. I ironed air stay on one part and I ironed hard gum stay on the other parts just to make it firm when the loop is being tied at the back, to make it very firm. So guys, this is what the fabrics are looking like after cutting them out from the pattern. I just ironed stay on them, and I also cut out the lace on it. As you can see, I made it wide enough to sew, so there's not going to be any mistakes. As you can see, this is what it's looking like, and I also cut out the lining piece as well, and I ironed gum stay on the lining piece. So this is what it's looking like. And here I cut out the yoke using our skin tone mesh, and I added half inches allowance round so we can have enough to sew. So this is what it's looking like after I went ahead to sew our lace on the what's it called, on the doll face. This is what it's looking like, and I went ahead to start joining my lining pieces, as you can see. But the center part, which is our bustier part, I did not join it together because we are going to be needing that to join our skin tone mesh, our yoke at the top. So I did not join that part together. So I'm just going to be showing you how I'm going to be joining the back piece. I'm just joining those two pieces together and I'm sewing it. This is the center part I was telling you about, that I won't be joining the center part. So I will just show you that part. This is where I'm going to be sewing on, and the other part I won't be sewing on it. So I'm just going to add my wording to it and start sewing and come back to show you guys what I have. So guys, I went ahead to join my front pieces together, and I added a regular boning at the bottom part just to add structure to the blouse, because there's going to be loops at the back and I just wanted it to have a bit of fitting. That was why I added the regular boning. So this is what it's looking like, and as you can see, I did not join the center together, it's still separate, and this is the back. So for our modesty panel, I did not join the second piece of my lining piece for the back because I needed that to join my modesty panel. So this is what the modesty panel is looking like. I just sewed around and left a space to turn it with, and I closed it at this part I'm pointing at right now. So this is what it's looking like. So here I'm joining the modesty panel to our lining piece. I'm just going to find the center part and create a notch there, and I also created a notch on the modesty panel, and I added the modesty panel to the middle of the lining piece, and I sandwiched it. As you can see, I added it to the center the way I'm doing right now, and I just joined them together. I joined it together right here the way I'm doing right now. I also notched the other piece and I sandwiched them together and just used my pin to pin it down so it won't move, and I sewed a straight line across. So guys, this is what our modesty panel is looking like after adding it to the lining. This is what it's looking like. So I went ahead to cut out the yoke part with our skin tone mesh, and I cut each piece twice just to double it to make it extra secure in order not to have anyone tearing on each other. I don't know if you understand. So here I'm adding the yoke to the front piece, and what I did is I created a notch to show me where the yoke is going to be starting from. That is the deep V part where it's going to be starting from. So I just created a notch there, and from that point I just started pinning my skin tone mesh to the main fabric, that is the posterior part. I just used my pin to pin it down and arrange it properly, and I sewed across. I did the same thing for the both parts before joining the center together finally. So guys, when I was done sewing, this is what the first piece is looking like. And I went ahead to take the other piece and I was just pinning it down so we don't have one part being longer than the other part. I pinned it to the top to make sure that the two notches I made at the top are lined properly before I start adding my mesh to the other part. So when I saw that it is equal, the two notches are meeting each other, from that point I started pinning the other part to the mesh. So I used my pin to start pinning it down, and after pinning everything down and make sure everything is evenly, like everything is aligning properly, I went ahead to sew. After joining our mesh, our yoke, this is what it's looking like. So after doing this, you can see everything is laying very well. I went ahead to hold this part equally and just sew it down. As you can see, arrange it very well so that you don't have one part being longer than the other, and just sew a straight line there by 1/2 inch. So guys, after sewing the center piece together, this is what we have. This is the final result. It's looking so beautiful. This is what it's looking like. So I brought the back piece to join our mesh, our yoke to the back. So please don't forget, I added regling boning to the back piece as well, as you can see. So I just arranged everything, putting it at the point it's supposed to be. Please take note of your pattern so you know where to place it. Just take your pin and pin it down. As you can see, I took my tape to measure to be sure of where it's supposed to be staying, where it's supposed to lay, and I just pinned it down to sew. As you can see, I'm saying as you can see a lot. So this is what it's looking like. So I just sewed across by 1/2 inch, and I did the same for the back piece, for the second piece rather, and this is what they are both looking like. Please make sure you iron as you're working. Please iron. So I'm just going to be holding this like so to place at the back piece like this. So this is here. I'm just trimming out the design for the front of the blouse, and you can do this with a soldering iron. I did not have a soldering iron, so I just made use of my scissors to do this. Some persons also just use this directly on the front piece. Here I'm just joining the back piece and the front piece together from the shoulder part. So we are just going to join it by the shoulder and then join it by the side using our body measurement, our bust, our under bust, and our waist measurement to just close up everything. So after joining, this is what we have. I just want to show you guys how I inserted our lining. That's why I made this part, because we joined the whole fabric together before joining the before joining the lining together and adding it to the main fabric. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but just watch and I believe you understand what I mean, so we can have a clean finish and like there's not going to be anything showing after joining our pieces together. So guys, we did the joining from the center parts, and we just joined the main fabric to the lining piece at the bottom part, and we top stitched on the lining, and then we turned it and sewed it round from that center piece to the back piece where we have the loop. So the joining doesn't start from the side of the blouse. I don't know if you understand, but you see what I'm doing, and I believe you understand better. Guys, if you have any more questions and you feel like you don't understand what I've been explaining, you can leave a comment on the comment section below, or you can send me a message on my Instagram. I'll be leaving my Instagram handle so you can follow me and ask any questions you have about anything relating to sewing. I am not an expert. A quick disclaimer, I am not an expert, but what I know I will share my knowledge on. So feel free to drop me a message or any questions you have on the comment section below. And if there's any video suggestion you have for me to make relating to any fashion, Let me know in the comment section below and I will make a video addressing whatever it is you want. So guys, I already added the loop to the other part of the blouse. Here I'm just showing you how I added the loop to this part before joining the lining on this other side. I just arranged it the way I wanted it to be and I pinned it down, and I did that for the rest part of the loops, and after that I sewed it down and added our lining piece. So after pinning it down, this is what it's looking like. So as I said before, I just sewed the lining piece to the main fabric and just sewed everything together, and I turned it out. So this is what I'm doing right now. I'm joining the top parts together, and from the top part I am going to be sewing the loop down the way I did for the other parts. So just watch carefully. So guys, please, you should be very careful when it comes to the part that has the plunged neck, where we have the deep V-ish. I don't know what to call it, but be very careful so you don't make any mistake here. It's very critical. So please be careful. And after sewing that, you just create a notch so everything will relax, and you turn your fabric over to the main part. Guys, I didn't realize my camera stopped filming, so I lost some clips, but this is what it's looking like after joining the lining piece and the main fabric together. You can see the inside is looking very neat, and there's no sewn parts showing. So what you do after this point is just to iron everything and make sure everything is relaxing properly. Here I'm just fixing in my structure. I made this off camera, sorry guys, but if you want me to make a video on how I achieved this, let me know down in the comment section, and I'll create a video specifically on how I made this. So I'm just hand stitching it to the blouse, as you can see, and after that I'm going to be adding the blouse panel to the front after sewing this down. So here I was just trying to figure out how I wanted my blouse panel to sit on the blouse. So I just tried different methods and I pinned it down, and I even cut out some piece and rearranged some things, and after a while I got the way I wanted it to be, and I just pinned it down and stitched everything in. So guys, this is the final result. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed already. See you on my next video. Bye.